Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the virtual memorial for George Floyd. My name is Evelyn Knox. I'm the coordinator for the Pan-African Collegiate Scholars Program in undergraduate studies at California State University, San Bernardino. And again, welcome. What I'd like to do at this time is introduce Pastor Dr. Joshua Beckley from Ecclesia Christian Fellowship. Dr. Joshua Beckley currently serves as the senior pastor of Ecclesia Christian Fellowship in San Bernardino. He is also the co-founder of the Inland Empire Concerned African American Churches organization, and he has dedicated his life to spreading the gospel of Christ to all he encounters and encouraging his membership to live a life which exemplifies Christ and shows forth the love which only comes from Christ. Dr. Beckley, please.
Good morning, everyone. It's a privilege and an honor to be with you today as we memorialize and remember the tragic death of George Floyd and the reasons why we are here today to ensure that these issues of racism are eradicated from our culture and from our systems. Let's pray as we prepare to enter into this time of remembering. Father, we thank you today for your presence. We thank you today that we live in a country that is free to do worship as we please, as well as to protest as we see fit. We ask you now in the name of Jesus to bless this time as we realize our country is in the midst of challenge and crisis, but we are hopeful and optimistic that we too shall rise above this as well. We pray today that this memorial remind us that acts like this are not acceptable, and that we as a culture, Black, white, red, yellow, and brown, are needed and necessary in order to ensure that events like this do not happen again. Bless this time, bless those who will speak, bless those who will share their hearts, bless this memorial as we recognize once again that we are a great nation. Racism is a disease, and we are greater than this disease. We thank you and praise you for this moment of remembering and reminder. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, Dr. Beckley, for that word. Thank you.
You're welcome.
At this time, we'd like to invite Dr. Morales to give a few brief words. Dr. Morales is the fourth president of California State University, San Bernardino, and a staunch advocate of the university's commitment to student success. Dr. Morales, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, Evelyn. Good morning. As president of Cal State San Bernardino, I want to thank all of you who have chosen to take part in this virtual memorial service to honor the life of George Floyd and the Black Lives Matter movement. Born in North Carolina, George Floyd grew up in Houston, Texas, and moved to Minneapolis several years ago in search of work and a new life. Just 46 years old, he lost both his jobs when the pandemic caused Minnesota to issue a stay-at-home order in late March. On May 25th, George Floyd was detained by Minneapolis police. While on the ground and handcuffed, he had one officer's knees pressed against his neck for more than 8 minutes and was heard pleading that he couldn't breathe. After being transported to a hospital, he was pronounced dead less than an hour later. Videos of the incident have since been viewed on the televised news programs and social media around the world. The reaction and outcry have been overwhelming. To my knowledge, Mr. Floyd never visited our campus nor had any association with this university. What I do know, however, is his tragic death has impacted every single person at CSUSB, as well as millions worldwide. This memorial is convened in his memory, as well as countless additional victims of violence that have long filled the headlines and sickened our souls. I want to thank those sponsoring this forum, where we, as a university, can join together and share our anguish, our anger, and our resolve. The university's administrative cabinet, the CSUSB Black Faculty, Staff, and Student Association, the Associated Students Incorporated, and the Pan-African Center. I also want to thank Dr. Joshua Beckley, Dr. Catherine Irving, Cameron Hyant, Evelyn Knox, Jacob Chaco, and the ITS team for your efforts today. The issues are many, but they all boil down to the plague of structural racism that infects our society. Every day, it encroaches upon our lives, our liberties, and values. As Reverend Sharpton eloquently stated, America must take their knee off the necks of people of color for America to move forward. Too many members of the African American community have suffered seeing their family, friends, and neighbors and leaders taken from them and us far too soon. As human beings, we must recognize that a blow delivered against any of us strikes all of us. It threatens the foundation on which this nation was founded, that every individual deserves the freedoms and equality God has granted us. There is no road to a better future that does not follow the path of social justice. And that road cannot be limited in depth or breadth. It will suffer neither color barriers nor cultural, spiritual, gender, or sexual restrictions. As I said a week ago in my public letter, we move forward together or not at all. I thank everyone for being here and sharing in this time of caring and support. I firmly hope and pray that we will use this time to listen, to draw strength from one another, to lessen the pain, and determine how to take that next step forward together. Thank you.
Thank you so much, President Morales, for your words this morning. And thank you everyone for being here. My name is Dr. Jacob Chaco. I use he, him, his pronouns. I serve as the Assistant Director for Diversity and Inclusion in the Santos Manuel Student Union. I would now like to introduce Dr. Catherine Irvin, who is a professor of theater arts and the president of our Black Faculty, Staff, and Student Association, to share some remarks. Please welcome Kathy Irvin.
Good morning, and thank you all for being here. Thank you for everyone who has made this space available for us. Thank you to the great spirits that are looking over us now this morning as we have this time together. As many of you may know, I'm a proud member of the Black Theater Network and have been a founding member since its inception. One of our annual traditions at times like this, as part of our memorial, is to salute our ancestors, to recognize the contribution of all those who have made a way for us to be in spaces like this, to understand and reflect on the tremendous sacrifices. And I see that there is a list going up in the chat of some of those names we should recall. An opportunity to reflect on the sacrifice and struggle made by so many men and women to bring us to this point. And during this memorial, for you to lift them up with your hearts, to lift them up with your heads, and ask for their continued inspiration and support. And at the same time, understand that in this moment, we hope we will all accept the trust they have placed in us to continue to work towards the victory. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Kathy, again. I would now like to invite Cameron Payat. Cameron is a fourth-year English major and student staff lead in the Cross-Cultural Center supporting our Pan-African Center. He has been a strong voice and advocate in the community and leads several students out in protest. Thank you so much, Cam, for sharing your words. Please welcome Cameron Payat.
Thank you, Jacob. I'd like to say thank you also to everybody that's here today. I appreciate CSUSB for taking this time and taking the initiative to host this virtual memorial. It sucks under the circumstances with the pandemic and everything. I'm quite sure that if it wasn't because of the pandemic, we would all be in person and everything. But like we really must take time to honor those that have all lost their lives to racial injustices or racial discrimination, because we already know this isn't a world that we shouldn't have to live in like this, because it really is I don't know, it's disrespectful to us as a people, being that we can't live comfortably in our skin. We must not just take George Floyd's death and Breonna Taylor's death as this is just another time to where we riot, we loot, we peaceful protest, we go against the law and everything like that, and then it ceases. And then all we do is pretty much go back to our normal lives, go back to the distractions and everything like that. Like, we really need to take a time to where we don't stand for this anymore. Like, there's so many, like what's going on in the chat right now, there's so many people that have lost their lives, and unjustly too. It's like nobody received that comfort within their family or anything like that. And it's just like, why do our people have to continue to live like this? Why is this okay in this world? And what do you expect? Do you expect us to respect the law if they're just killing us in the streets? We're being slain like animals in the streets still. Like, I'm watching documentaries and everything, and it's just like it's the same thing. Like, I watched a documentary last night called LA 95, and it's the same thing in terms of protesting, in terms of nobody being charged for murdering black kids, black men, black women in the street. It's like we never receive any justice. We're still not being treated as if we're people. We're still not being treated as equal. And it's like our liberty and our future generations, stuff like that is all within the Constitution, but yet it is still not being it's not being promised to us. That isn't what's happening at all. But I just pray for like our generations. I pray for my generation, and I pray for the past generation. I just hope that one day we can see a life to where, you know, it can be a little bit more calm. It can be a little bit more peaceful. And, you know, hopefully next time we're not crying over another senseless death. Like, I pray the next time that my people will be crying, it will be because, you know, we finally have a victory over oppression, police brutality, white supremacy, racial discrimination, racial injustices, because it's been going on for far too long and it needs to stop. But I thank everybody for being here. I thank everybody for having me too and allowing me to speak and be able to be a voice. And I just pray we get it done this time.
Thank you so much, Cameron, for your words, for your dedication, for you being here as an advocate for students. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Of course. At this time, we're going to open it up to the community to ensure that we get comments, feelings, thoughts, and ensure that as many people as we can are heard. So just to give you a few logistical details of how this portion will go. Right now, we'll be recording this session through Zoom, and it's being live streamed to YouTube. We do have ITS on hand for any issues that you may have within the chat. So please make sure to reach out to Parker Brooks directly in the chat if you have any issues. Again, this will be live streamed through CSUSB's YouTube channel. What we ask is that everybody be as respectful as possible. We understand that there's a lot of passion around this incident. There's a lot of passion around this cause and this time. We just ask that everybody is as respectful as they possibly can be. All of you have been muted. So if you wish to speak during the open comment section, which is right now, please raise your hand using the participant feature. So if you click on participants, you can raise hand. There's a link at the bottom of that section to raise your hand if you would like to speak. Again, we will try to get as many comments as we can. We do ask that your comments are brief, if possible, to accommodate as many thoughts as possible. Also, if you can, please rename yourself to your name on your screen. That way we can call on you accordingly. Once you're called upon, we will unmute you because everyone is muted right now. And out of respect for others who wish to speak, we do ask that, again, you keep your comments as brief as possible and you can still share your passion and thoughts and feelings. Okay. So our first comment will be Alejandro Garcia. Alejandro? Okay, you're muted. Okay, so we'll get you unmuted.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for that. Thank you for putting this together as well. I am a graduate student in psychological sciences here at Cal State San Bernardino. First and foremost, thank you for everyone sharing what's going on as a person of color, a person that grew up in Compton. I am very privy to a lot of the disparities that have been placed upon us as people of color. I guess my comment, necessarily not to deviate from what's going on, what the purpose of this is together, but I definitely want to hear from a lot of the faculty, the academic advisors, as to how we are going to address issues moving forward for our underrepresented population at Cal State San Bernardino. I will be honest, I am disappointed at how long it took for things to move along and progress on our campus, despite COVID, the pandemic happening. It was just a very long time that a lot of the students were dealing with a lot of these internalized issues. And there wasn't much support from the university. And that right there was frustrating to me as a student, as an advocate, as a leader in the community. I felt that it's our duty to be able to provide a safe space for students to be able to be heard first and foremost, and for some of the issues that are plaguing some of our students to be addressed, which I feel haven't been addressed despite a lot of the meetings and people I've had conversations with about this. So I think moving forward, I guess I would like to see more opportunities at our university that are first and foremost safe for our students, but also provide an avenue for some real change. Because when I think when we move forward from having the issues of George Floyd and Breonna Taylor addressed, we're going to graduate, we're going to move on, and we're going to continue being people of color, and we're going to continue living in these communities. And I want to be sure that we are getting the proper training, the proper resources for us to go ahead and be leaders in the community to infect change. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Alejandro, so much for sharing and putting those words of to all of our leaders here today. That means a really lot coming from someone who works in diversity and inclusion. I also want us to think about all of the different names like Tony McDade, our intersectional community, our Black trans folks, that we haven't heard from, our Black women who are often not named, Sandra Bland, Breonna Taylor, right? Thank you, thank you. I would now like to open the floor for Ms. Twyla Evans-Carthen to share some words.
Hello, community and CSUSB family. My name is Twyla Evans-Carthen. I'm a product of the community. My ancestors lived through not only the Jim Crow laws, I was actually born during that time period, and witnessing my family members being part of the civil rights movement. It gives me great pleasure that we're having this conversation in this space now. We're not being silent. It appears, of course, sometimes the delay, but we've been waiting since 1619. And I'd like to share with you the words of Dr. Martin Luther King, because there's over 438 people on this call that at least we know that our voices have not been silenced. There comes a time when silence is betrayal. Our lives begin to end the day we become silent about the things that matter in the end. We will remember not the words of our enemies, but the silence of our friends. Dr. Martin Luther King, Jr. Thank you.
Thank you, Twyla, for that reminder, that historical piece, that historical lineage. Thank you. One thing, just a note of housekeeping. If you would like to comment, again, please raise your hand using the hand raise feature. If you click on participants, there's a button at the bottom that will allow you to raise your hand if you would like to speak. Also, with the next speaker, is it Nini? If we're asking if you could please rename yourself. So Pastor Richard.
Yes. God bless you. God bless each and every one. We thank God for another day that the Lord has made. I am a student for a sociology major, but I am an associate pastor at my church. And I believe that we are in a season where we see all this looting and we see all this violence and we see the peace movements. But right now, what happens is that when the head is sick, the body is sick. So what do we need to do right now is to, I believe that the campus needs to have a setup for a scholarship for Mr. Floyd. But then we, like the other brother was saying earlier, that we, every time something happens like this, we all get into the same mode and the same fighting and saying we need change. Well, right now, time is out. Time is out. We need to do what we've been talking about. There needs to be a change. And I believe that on the campus, we have a lot of students that want to say something, but they're silent at the present time. But we need to have some type of event going on. And not because somebody has got killed, you have your knee on me, not because that's happened, but because we are a nation of people that believe that God is able to deliver us from all this violence and stuff like that. The Bible says in Matthew, blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall be called the children of God. And I believe that we're all children of God. I don't know what you believe and what you don't believe, but the human life is something that is very important. And so we need to have the change. I'm just saying the change I recommend is not just having stuff that goes on when somebody gets hurt or somebody gets killed. We need to have something that's in the curriculum that will point to how to deal with situations. And so I want to say this to each and everyone, even to the faculty. Bless you, y'all be safe, and always remember God loves you, and so do we. And there's nothing you can do about it. God bless you. Thank you for the time.
Thank you, Pastor Shine. Conversations also begin at home, right? In my language of my native language of Malayalam, I've learned to share "Enikku shwasam muttunnu," which means I cannot breathe. And having that conversation with family members is important of the historical crimes towards the Black community in the United States. So Thank you. And I would like to open it to Thurston. Sorry if I said your name incorrectly.
You said it correctly. Hi, my name is Thurston McAfee, and I want to address a very important issue, okay? Slavery and racism go hand in hand. We've been doing a lot of the dying by the hands of the police, the Klan, and the rest of it for a long time. The one thing I do want to address, though, is every time we say minority or people of color, it derails the attention on the black male or the black female, right? These are black folks literally dying. We stand side by side in that, right? If there was a Hispanic, we would be stand side by side and he'd be a Hispanic male or Hispanic female dying. We would say Hispanic. But when it comes to black, we say minority and people of color. You see, we need to be more specific. These are black folks dying by the hands of the police. Not just people of color, right? Good case in point is the prison population of Hispanic Americans and white Americans. We would be the majority of people in prison. You get what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And we are the people who are dying. So when we say people of color are minority, white women are considered minorities and they're also considered people of color, right? As well as Hispanics. So it derails the black movement, right? George Floyd was a black man who died. We need to address that and we need to make that point clear. That's all I want to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Thurston, for that sentiment and making sure that you always hear the phrase, say their names. And in this moment, you're seeing more and more of that specificity out, that it was a black man, it is a black woman, Breonna Taylor. These are things that are, thankfully, the names are being said more and it is specific. So thank you for that sentiment. Cameron?
Yeah, I just wanted to speak out to everybody that's here into the chat right now. So right now, like, it's been a lot of students out there protesting, and first and foremost, I'll pray for each and every student that's out there protesting, each and every person that's out there protesting. Hope you guys are all safe. Stay away from COVID, stay away from the police because they just grabbing anybody at this point. But I really wanted to bring awareness to what's going on out there. It's right now in terms of the changes that need to be made. We need to be thinking about within our own PD and everything like that towards what will actually keep us more safe and what will make them feel like like they will be held accountable for their actions. Because right now everybody feels like, well, not everybody feels like, but a majority feel like they're above the law. Like everything that they could do right now is just like it could just go, and they could be as unruly as they want, they could be as unorderly as they want, but they expect the people to be orderly, and that doesn't that won't ever happen, because it's like if you guys especially are killing us in the street like this, you guys should not expect us to just be sitting back and just be like okay with it. But in terms of the different protests, in terms of people that are allied help, and we're all trying to have these different conversations to see how we could better this world and like get it to a point to where we don't have to navigate it so carefully, but we could actually be comfortable in our skin and be ourselves. We have to go all the way back to where it began, because it's like all of this that has transgressed to what we are going through today is all based off of a racist white man's idea of what the world would be like if it were equal in this year. And it's like a 1788 ratified constitution cannot work for the people who actually love one another in 2020. Because it's like when we're out there protesting, it's all different ethnicities out there. It's all different intersectionalities. And it's like, I want to get to know each and every person out there, because it's like they're all in the same war with me, just because they also believe that I should not be getting killed, or that our people should not be getting killed simply because of color of their skin. And it's like they also have their own oppressed groups and stuff like that, the different things that they go through. So it's like we are all in different avenues. We are all in different lanes fighting the same thing. But I feel like this is a time when we, need to come together, especially, and just, fight exactly what we're fighting. Because we've always been up against oppression. We've always been up against racial discrimination, all these racial injustices, and police brutality and white supremacy. But what sucks is because as a people, we weren't even able to understand the next person first. Like, in terms of everybody right now that's been a help in this, that isn't Black and has been a help in this fight, like they're considered allies. But it's like I was never even given the chance to know you from a standpoint of you being, family or friend or anything like that, simply because of the idea of how a racist person is willing to get over on anybody. So now this whole life has like just continued to where it's like you don't know who to trust. You don't know if somebody will be as accepting as you, accepting of you as the next person. So we need to start breaking things down and pretty much building it back up upon our own standpoints, because it's like we've only gone from what it began with, and it's like it's never been good. So it's like we can't expect to just take little pieces or like continue off of that and expect to get better, because it'll never happen that way, because we know a racist can't know love for everybody and stuff like that. So it's like we need to break all of that stuff down to where we can be more accepting of each other. We can be more supportive of each other, and actually be willing to understand that these fights do not cease for certain people. Like when everything goes silent and then everybody goes back to their usual lives, it's like we're still Black. We still have to live within this nation. We still have to drive past police, I like whatever it is. But we need to come together, and we need to really figure out just exactly how we are going to dismantle and diminish completely of white supremacy, of oppression, of police brutality, of racial discrimination, and all these different injustices. Because in the Constitution, it says we deserve this. We deserve our liberty. We deserve our rights to freedom. We deserve to have our generations to just go out and be themselves. Like, I should not be at protests and talking to little 4-year-olds or talking to 3-year-olds and 5-year-olds. I should not be doing that. They should be out somewhere playing with the ball or something. They shouldn't be out there saying their life matters. And it's like, for people who don't get that, like, you need to, like, honestly, you need to already get that within your head. And then after that, go and tell somebody else. Because it's like, police need to start judging off a criminal level. They need to start doing it off of ethnicities and off of where a person stays at geographically, because it's like criminal that doesn't come in a color, that doesn't come in a specific location, like that just comes off a specific person. So it's like the fact that we've been dying in the streets like this, we know it's a Black thing, we know it's a Black problem. And it's like the fact that people are trying to act like they don't know what's going on, or like it's something different. There's so many racist people, there's so many people who are out there shaking their heads, flipping us off, and it's like, you're not the one dying in the street. Like, you can't understand how we feel, and you're just driving by acting like we're just out here doing this. Like, who wants to do this in the midst of a pandemic? Who wants to protest their lives in the midst of a pandemic? We wouldn't be out there if it wasn't unorderly, like, going out here. So I don't know. There's a lot that needs to be done. There's a lot of progress that has been made, but it's like the fact that the world still is what it is in 2020. It says a lot about the people who are upholding the same system, and not only just in government position, but it's institutionally too. It's like, support your people. And that's pretty much all I have to say. I know that was a long comment, but I don't know. We just need to be more supportive of each other. We are all fighting the same thing. We're all within the same communities, but our empathy as a people, it isn't really there. And then like our care as a people isn't really there, because when you really think about all the people that have been oppressed this whole time, like, all they want is equality. All they want is to live comfortably in their skin. They're not asking for it. They don't want revenge or anything. They don't want to harm anybody or anything. Like people are mad about buildings and the looting and the rioting, but it's like, what was the first domino? Like, what fell first? What happened first that made all of that happen? Because there should be nobody should be mad about looting or rioting. Everybody's first thought should have been, I'm mad because an American citizen is getting killed by its own law enforcement. Smug, with a smug look on his face. Under 8 minutes, come on, like, they made it criminal for a black man to take a knee on a football field and made it seem like everybody wants to talk about football more, but then a white cop can take a knee on a black man's neck and then they don't even arrest the man until we ask. It's like, if y'all don't see that, it's still going on to this day. Like, it's still the same thing. There are going to be it seems like, honestly, just like I'm 22, but being in a life like this, it honestly feels like our heads could all be hooked up to chairs because they just making it like this is just the next documentary. This is just the next movie that you guys are going to see. And it's like, when does it really end? When do our generations get to chill? When do our generations just get to be themselves and be kids? Because like everybody needs to ask themselves that question, because it isn't right for us to have to live this way.
Thank you, Cameron.
Thank you so much, Cameron. For those of you in doctoral programs, look out for my student, Cameron Payat. He will be applying. We'll have a talk. He's been fundamental in organizing with our professors, the race and policing panel. In fact, he's too shy to share. This Wednesday, there'll be a second part of that panel happening at 4 o'clock. I now, thank you again, Cam. I also want to call attention to folks in the chat. There's conversations happening in the chat as well. And as a logistical reminder, if you are having your hand raised, please rename yourself to your name so that we can call on you and share your name. At this time, I want to welcome our AVP Kimberly Shiner to share.
Hello, good morning, CSUSB community. I want to thank the president, the cabinet, and the student leadership for coming together to put on this memorial. But I have to say that I hope we can look beyond this memorial and really do the work to engage authentically, intentionally, and more proactively with our communities of color. As a university, we have the power to be facilitators. We are here to educate. And I'd like to see CSUSB do more to talk about real issues, things that I, as an African-American woman, have experienced on our campus. Microaggressions, implicit bias. We need to have hard conversations and talk about white privilege. We need to have those conversations in a safe space, and we need to do it not when we're forced to address a senseless murder. We need to be more proactive in having these conversations and engagement with our communities of color. I grew up in a family in Los Angeles who came from the South in the 40s and settled in Watts, the only place where Blacks could buy a home, one of few places at the time. My grandmother turned 95 yesterday, and she was a little old Black woman from Watts who coined the phrase "to protect and serve" that was put on all police cars. I grew up learning how to engage with police and teaching my son, and my brother was taught, and how we needed to conduct ourselves, because my grandmother, a little old woman from Watts, without much education, got involved and work with the police. We need to have those conversations, community. And I think the university can be a facilitator of that engagement. And we need to do it before murders happen. I thank you for your time this morning. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kim, for your sentiments and for that challenge. I do recognize that the chat just had a ton of unnecessary, hateful comments. That was actually my first instance of seeing Zoom bombing, and the chat has been disabled. So despite that, we will persist through recognizing this moment. We will persist through sharing our thoughts and our feelings. Thank you for your patience with that, but unfortunately the chat is disabled, but the memorial doesn't stop. I want to take this moment too to acknowledge all of our Black faculty, staff, and faculty members and students and allies who have been doing a lot of hard work and carrying a lot of emotional labor over these past few weeks to help be proactive and take charge and be a support system for not only our students, but for the campus and for ourselves and our families. So I couldn't let this moment of hate pass without combating it with love. Thank you for all of those that are doing the labor, all of those on the Zoom right now who are committed, hopefully committed to this cause and to uplifting our Black folks on campus and beyond in the community. Our next speaker, again, thank you for patience, Anthony Glenn Jones.
Hi, good morning, everyone, and thank you for allowing me the time to speak. My name is Anthony Jones. I'm a graduate student at Cal State San Bernardino. I also did my undergraduate at Cal State San Bernardino, majoring in a master's in public administration. My undergrad is also in public administration as well. One of the things I love about Cal State is their slogan is "We define the future," which I think is a very, very strong meaning and mantra behind the goals and objectives that the university is looking to churn out into the community. And defining the future is something that I think should be very important and front and center as far as shaping and crafting the type of future that we want to see for our community. With that in mind, there's been recent talks of declaring racism to be a public health crisis within San Bernardino County, which I think is a good step into the right direction. But I also think that the university should take it a step further and also declare racism to be a public health crisis. I think that we need to put more research towards inequities, inequalities, and social equity and racism occurring so that we can do more research and figure out which ways we can improve our systems to ensure that we have a more equitable society for each other. And as a public administrator and vice chairman of the San Bernardino City Planning Commission, I've seen how policies can be implemented that certainly impact our community and marginalize low income and colored communities. And I think in order to change these systemic processes, we need to ensure that we have the research that backs it up and we have people that are diverse and that are advocating for everyone across the spectrum, whether they're low income or upper income, Black, white, all of that. We need to ensure that our people are being well taken care of and that we have research that backs up what we're trying to do. There are currently 18,000 police departments in America, and all of those police departments are run independently and they pretty much run their own program. We need to make sure that we're activating our youth, that we're voting, that we're ensuring that the mayor that we elect into office appoints a police chief that has policies that are geared toward being socially equitable. We need to make sure that the people that we elect and the public administrators that design and implement policies are ensuring that they're not exacerbating the problem and making it worse for Black and brown people in America. So once again, I commend the university for putting on this commencement memorial for George Floyd and the Black Lives Matter movement. I really believe that this is a pivotal moment in our time where we need to actually come together and mobilize and be the change that we need to see within the community in order to change it. If you look at the income gap, the wealth disparity between coloreds, as far as Black compared to whites and Mexicans, you see that there's a large wealth income inequality gap, and that gap is not getting smaller. We've had a war on poverty for over decades, and the problem is still getting worse. So I really think it's time as public administrators, as nursing, healthcare, there's certain systemic processes in place where there's that power and privilege structure that allows the few to be advantaged and the rest to be stepped on. And I think in order to change that, we need to revamp and reform our current processes in order to ensure a better future. I thank you all for allowing me the time to speak, and I look forward to working with you all in the future. Once again, my name is Anthony Jones, and thank you all.
Thank you, Anthony, and thank you for calling us into action. I know several folks are here who have that power. I want to offer some time for Hillel Cohn to speak.
Yes, thank you. I'm Hillel Cohn, rabbi, served in San Bernardino now for close to 60 years. But I want you to, first of all, know how appreciative I am, and I'm sure others on this Zoom are, of the initiative taken by faculty, the administration, all of the San Bernardino, Cal State San Bernardino community for putting this together. I have been impressed, as I'm sure everyone else has been, with those that we've heard thus far. But I want you to know that you are not alone. I come here today as a citizen of our community and of our nation, a citizen of a community and nation that needs to affirm now indeed what we so often allow just to be in word. And that is that we need to live in a society that truly practices liberty and justice for all. But I also come here as part of a people that has, in the 20th century, experienced the most horrific genocide in all of human history. But to say to you that I and so many others are really committed to pursuing justice, knowing that it has to be justice economically, politically, in so many other ways, and also as part of the human community. Racism and the accompanying bigotry and prejudice has different forms. We have seen it in its most overt form in recent days, but it also is expressed subtly, and we need to be on guard against that. There is no place for it anywhere. It needs to end, and part of that brings about the need for better education from early childhood on to adulthood, and a continuing resolve by our entire society that we will simply not tolerate this kind of bigotry, prejudice, and racism. It cannot be tolerated, especially when it's practiced by those in power, whether they be law enforcement, elected officials. Power needs to be used with sensitivity. It needs to be used with integrity. Power is a gift that cannot be taken for granted. We need to be on guard as citizens of the human community and of our own nation and community. We will certainly never leave those who are oppressed alone. Thank you.
Thank you, Rabbi Cohn, for that message, that affirming message. We appreciate that. I want to take a second just to remind everyone, if you would like to speak, please rename yourself so that way we can call on you. And with that, I'd like to call on Ashley Howard.
Hi, everybody. My name is Ashley Howard. I just want to encourage everybody that's in here that when things like this happen, to check on your Black colleagues and your Black students. Don't just think, oh, they're okay, they're not saying anything, or whatever, maybe thinking that they're okay. It's been hard these past couple of weeks. I'm a mother to a 2-year-old son, and I have to get up and I have to go to work the next day and be in Zoom calls, knowing that at night I cry, not just for my people, but for my child, for his safety. Just acknowledging that no matter if I teach him to be respectful and kind, that somebody out there may not like him because of his skin color. So I just want to encourage you to check on your students and to check on your coworkers, because some of us are not okay, but we have to keep getting up every day and showing up for our students and for ourselves. So I just want to encourage you, just because we don't say, and sometimes you may not know what to say, just say, I'm here for you. I'm here for you. I'm praying for you, whatever that may be. And I see you. And if you need somebody to talk to, I'm here. Simple. I just wanted to say that. And I appreciate that Cal State San Bernardino has provided this platform for us here together. And I appreciate everybody in here for showing up. Thank you.
Thank you, Ashley.
Thank you so much, Ashley. We now want to open it up for DeMarco Washington.
Hello. Hello, everyone. Excuse my voice right now, man. I'm still kind of stunned, so to say, about the chat, what I saw in the chat. And then just hearing what this young lady just said, the one who just spoke, it kind of touched me too. Man, but anyway, guys, So San Bernardino, thank you guys for having this opportunity for us to share, our opinions about what's going on. So we all got to adjust of what's, the idea about how to actually acknowledge, the racism and the injustices. So, I kind of don't want to try to go in circles, but that's great information, that I heard from the whole time, I've been on this Zoom call. So thank you for the guys who spoke and who are about to speak right after me as well. Just like what she said, guys, if you guys need a voice to talk to, or, some minds to share some ideas with, just let me know too, guys, because we're all here for a community. But, keep it short, because we do have a time for other people, as well. I can go all day about this, but, the fact that stuff has been just shared worldwide, the past couple of weeks, it's good, but at the same time, it's a little strange, because what about, like all the other Black people, who were, injusticeably killed, and, did they get any coverage? Maybe locally, maybe state, but the worldwide, that's something that should have been, done a long time ago. Stuff like this has been, going on pretty plainly for hundreds of years, and the fact for us that is still going on is like a shock, or like a like an eye opener of how society really is still today. Is it getting better? Maybe. I'm not really sure. For me, it's still too soon to speak on that, because change, it doesn't just start from the external, but it starts from the internal, as well. So it goes to the individual, like also. So like, what are you doing to share your knowledge? What are you doing to share your experiences? What are you doing also to help others? Not just physically, but mentally too. Mentally is the most powerful weapon we have, our minds, all right? The mind of the human body, it pushes every single function, in our body. It like activates this, activates that, a lot of different things. So I think, well, no, the change starts from the mind, regardless if what background you are, if you're speaking about this racial injustice still today, then great. If you're just starting to do it, then great to you. Cause I remember when I was growing up, and kind of still today too, when I used to tell different people, regardless or not, if they're my same background or not, about the racial injustices, I've had people say, "Oh, get over it." Oh no, there's different backgrounds who have worse than you, which is not true. There are people who have been similar. Yes, it's all bad. Don't get me wrong. Okay, this is not no, sorrow, of Olympics. All right, that's not what it's about. But I'm just stating facts here. Why do you do this? Why do you do that? Oh, you're light skin, you're dark skin, you're brown. It doesn't matter. All right. So black is black. But my thing is also, before I get off and share the light real quick, is that the shocking thing to me that I also heard the past few days was the NFL. They said an apology. But my thing was, how can you say an apology if you going to give Kaepernick heat? When he did this 3 years ago about showing this stuff like that. But now they're just saying, oh, you know what? You were right. We're sorry. So my thing is, if people really support you, or groups, then they will do it, soon, as soon as possible, right then and there, or maybe later. But that goes to change about not just excuse me, not just the individual, but for the group as well. So for those who are just now supporting, okay, thank you. But those who have been supporting, great to that. And, I hope soon we can, well, sadly, to be honest, I really don't, well, yeah, I'm not sure if things will change 100%. I know things do take time, of course, but as long as we do it in steps, then things will be great. And hopefully we can all still come together, even after this is done, but stuff will never be done, you know? So let's keep the same energy for ourselves and for others as well, and for the people who have been, unheard about their case and their injustices. But for the moment, yeah, I want to keep going all day, but that's my mind, at the moment, to share with you guys. So just keep being positive, just keep loving each other the right way, and stay real. And that's what I gotta say right now at the moment.
Thank you, DeMarco. So good to see you, one of our Black alum and active change agents while he was a student. So thank you. Our next speaker will be Elaine
Yeah.
Rivers.
Hi. How are you? Wonderful. Let me first say that I am so proud to be a part of Cal State University San Bernardino. I am a graduate. I earned my master's degree at Cal State, and I also was employed at Cal State in the 80s through the 90s. I was director of services to students with disabilities. I'm now in New Jersey and part of another university, but I have to really commend Cal State for doing this. I thank President Morales as well as Evelyn. Outstanding. Jacob, outstanding. Catherine, outstanding. Everyone who's participated, outstanding, because this is an important first step. This is a time when the rubber literally meets the road. And so we have to be willing to come to the table. Even the young lady in the chat, Natalie Torres, yes, I wouldn't disable the chat if I were you, because I think that this is an opportunity for all of us to really bear our feelings about this, because unless we deal with it up front and center, we're not going to be able to move forward. Granted, we may not share in everyone's opinion, but it's important that we have an ear to hear so that we can understand. And so, I commend you. As we speak, as you know, the memorial for George Floyd in Houston is currently taking place. And so I have that on the TV. So I think it's really appropriate for you and all of us as the Cal State community to come together and to share our thoughts and feelings and sentiments. I'm from the old school. I could share a lot of stories, but I'm not going to. My grandmother experienced firsthand murder of my aunt at the hands of white racists in the South. I could share stories after stories after stories, but I'm not going to. But I think that this is a starting point for us to come together and really make change. And so I hope that all of you will take the mantle and run with it. Cameron, I felt your passion. Young people, please don't shove this under the rug. And I, as an elder, I hope to be able to stand behind you. I don't know what I can do for you. I'm here in New Jersey, but certainly reach out to me. You have my name. Again, I'm a graduate of Cal State. And so I want to be part of the solution for you, for your future, for future generations. Thank you again.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Elder Rivers. I want to open it up for Andy Oko.
Hello. This is going to be really hard. I'm sorry. So, I'm lucky enough to come from a background of privilege. I'm like a fourth generation college student. My dad is from Nigeria, had bachelor or doctorate degrees. I have not had the same struggle as some of the people who look like me. But to see what just happened in the chat breaks my heart. To think that there are people out there who look at me, they don't care what's inside of me, and automatically hate me is a hard burden to bear all the time. And I have trouble speaking out about these things because of the fact that I come from privilege and I don't feel it's my place. But I think that just broke me. But I do want to say two things. One, please do check on your friends, but also don't expect your Black friends to educate you. We are trying to mentally heal and mentally survive all the time. And being requested to, well, help me understand, help me this, just keeps re-traumatizing us. There are resources out there. There are things out there. You can educate yourself. I am always very open to having conversations. I've been having conversations with a lot of students because they just don't know what to do and they want to help. But at the same time, you know, I have students who want to become cops. I have students who want to go into positions where if they go protest and get arrested, that can derail their entire career. So just be there for people. All you have to say to somebody is, I acknowledge that your feelings are valid. I acknowledge that you are in pain. You don't have to know what to say, but just acknowledge the fact that you feel that they're feeling something. You may not understand it, but their feelings are valid. The second thing I want to say is, I'm so proud of our community at CSUSB right now for doing something like this and continuing even though the hate happened. But when the protests stop, when the social media stops, will you still be with us? Because I know I'm 31, so I'm young, and I've seen in my 31 years this happen over and over. I mean, the Rodney King incident happened when I was 4 years old, and it builds up and then it just drops off as soon as it's not popular anymore. And I really just would like to challenge everyone. Don't let this drop. Don't let someone else die. Don't let someone cry out for their mom because they are being suffocated for a fraudulent $20 bill. That man lost his life over $20, which tells you the value that my life has to some people. Don't forget that. Don't let it die off. Let us know that our existence is worth it. Our existence is important because that's how people feel, and our students feel neglected, and they are coming to college to do things that their parents may not have been able to do. And it's our job, at least us faculty and staff, to give them a safe environment to do it in. But that's all. Thank you.
Andy, thank you so much for being vulnerable in this space and sharing you with us. I affirm what you have just shared, and I wish I could give you a big hug, but COVID. However, it's coming. It is on reserve. Thank you for sharing. Thank you so much. This is the end of our memorial for George Floyd. What we'd like to do right now is to just take a moment of silence as we close this event out. So please, if we could just take a moment of silence. Thank you all so much for joining us today. Please, as Andy and all of our speakers have just mentioned, don't let this stop. Please don't let this stop. Don't let the university have to be the one to sponsor a talk with each other. Set things up, set up dialogues, because that's how things change. Have a great day, everybody. Thank you.